The Galactic Council had ruled for 3 millennia, their crystalline spires stretching across 1,000 worlds like fingers of absolute authority. When the primitive signals from Sol 3 first reached their sensors, the ancient beings barely spared a thought for the young species that dared to shout into the void. They should have paid attention. Admiral Keiko Tanaka stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the Council's flagship Eternal Dominion drift lazily through the asteroid field of what had once been their homeworld. The massive dreadnought, larger than Earth's moon, was now nothing more than a tomb spinning silently through space. "Report, Commander," Tanaka said, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's greatest victory. Commander Chen pulled up the holographic display, his scarred face illuminated by the blue glow. 97% of their fleet destroyed or captured, Admiral. The remaining 3% have surrendered unconditionally. 3 years. That's all it had taken for humanity to dismantle an empire that had conquered half the galaxy. When the Council's envoys first arrived at Earth 50 years ago, they had descended from their ships like gods, gracing mortals with their presence. The Zephyrians with their translucent wings, the Korathans with their impenetrable exoskeletons, the Nexari with their hive minds that could process data faster than quantum computers, all of them united in their absolute certainty that humanity would bow. Ambassador Veltar, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, had materialized in the United Nations Assembly. "Primitive species of Sol 3, the entity had proclaimed, its voice resonating through dimensions. "Your world has been selected for annexation. You will serve the Council as laborers and entertainment. Resistance is futile." The humans had listened. They had nodded. They had signed documents. And then they had done something the Council had never encountered in 3,000 years of conquest. They had lied. While Earth's governments publicly prepared for integration, humanity's greatest minds worked in shadows. Dr. Sarah Chen, the commander's grandmother, had reverse-engineered Council technology from the ambassadorial ship's exhaust particles. Within months, she had cracked the secrets of their faster-than-light communication network. The Council's first mistake was underestimating human adaptability. Their second was revealing their technology. Their third, and most fatal, was assuming humanity would fight like every other species they had conquered. Every other species had met the Council in honorable battle, fleet against fleet, matching technology against technology. The Council always won because they had better ships, better weapons, better shields. Humanity didn't fight honorably. When the invasion fleet arrived 10 years later, they found Earth's orbital defenses laughably primitive. Kinetic weapons, nuclear missiles, and basic energy shields. The Council's forces swept them aside in hours, just as predicted. But as their ships moved into Earth's atmosphere, something unprecedented happened. The primitive weapons they had destroyed began rebuilding themselves. Automated factories hidden in Earth's ocean depths launched swarms of self-replicating nanobots into the upper atmosphere. The Council's ships found their hulls being eaten away from the inside as microscopic machines rewrote their matter at the atomic level. "Impossible," High Counselor Zarthek had declared as his flagship's armor began to dissolve. No species achieves molecular assembly technology before joining the Council. Admiral Petrov, commanding Earth's defense from a bunker in the Siberian tundra, had smiled grimly as he watched the invasion fleet tear itself apart. "You never asked what we achieved while pretending to be primitive." The Council's ships fell from the sky like burning stars. Those few that escaped carried word back to the Council worlds. Humanity was not primitive. They were something far more dangerous. They were deceptive. The real war began then. The Council deployed their full might. Fleets that could crack planets, weapons that could ignite stars, soldiers that could phase through matter itself. They threw everything at the Sol system, determined to exterminate the species that had dared to deceive them. They found Sol empty. In the 10 years since first contact, humanity hadn't just been building weapons. They had been building ships. Not the massive dreadnoughts that other species favored, but small, fast vessels designed for one purpose: hiding. Humanity had evacuated. 12 billion humans had vanished into the void, scattered across 10,000 ships using technology the Council had never seen before. Cloaking systems based on quantum uncertainty, engines that left no energy signature, life support systems that recycled matter with perfect efficiency. For 30 years, the Council searched. They conquered 100 more worlds, interrogated 1 million prisoners, deployed sensors that could detect a single atom of human DNA across light years. They found nothing. Then the attacks began. Council shipyards exploded without warning. Supply convoys vanished between stars. Entire fleets would jump to a system only to find their destination planet stripped bare of resources, its population evacuated, its infrastructure reduced to its constituent atoms. The humans weren't fighting a war, they were performing surgery. With precision that bordered on artistry, they dismantled the Council's empire piece by piece. They hacked communication networks to turn Council forces against each other. They seeded nanomachines into food supplies that would activate months later, causing critical systems to fail at precisely calculated moments. Most terrifyingly, they turned the Council's greatest strength against them. The ancient beings' immortality, their vast experience, their slow, methodical approach to governance, all became weaknesses when faced with a species that could adapt and evolve strategies within a single generation. The humans think too fast, Counselor Mordek had whispered during what would be the Council's final session. By the time we understand their strategy, they have already moved on to the next one. Now, standing on the bridge of humanity's flagship as the last Council strongholds transmitted their surrender, Admiral Tanaka allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Around her, the combined fleets of 50 liberated species waited for orders, not from conquered peoples pressed into service, but from allies who had chosen to follow humanity's lead. "Admiral," her communications officer announced, "we're receiving transmission from New Geneva Station. President Martinez is asking for your status report." Tanaka nodded, then activated the ship-wide communication system. Her words would reach every human vessel, every allied ship, every liberated world in their expanding sphere of influence. "Citizens of the human commonwealth and our allied species," she began, her voice carrying across the void to beings who had once thought themselves gods. "Today marks the end of the Galactic Council's reign of tyranny. But more importantly, it marks the beginning of something new. A galaxy where species are judged not by their age or their technology, but by their choices." She paused, looking out at the debris field that had once been the Council's seat of power. "They expected us to bow because every other species had bowed before them. They forgot that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our weapons. It was our refusal to accept that anyone, anywhere, had the right to rule us without our consent." The Admiral smiled, thinking of her grandmother who had started humanity's long deception, of the billions of humans who had lived in hiding for decades, of the countless species they had freed along the way. "The galaxy is vast and there are still tyrants among the stars. But they have learned, as the Council learned, that humanity does not kneel. We make our own choices, fight our own battles, and extend that same freedom to anyone willing to stand with us." In the comm channels, cheers erupted from 1,000 ships and 1,000,000 voices, human and alien alike, all free, all defiant, all proof that sometimes the youngest species in the galaxy could teach the oldest that evolution never stops. The stars themselves seemed to whisper agreement as humanity's fleets dispersed into the void, carrying freedom to corners of the galaxy that had forgotten what it meant to choose their own destiny.